Gentlemen, let's transition to another hot issue in neighborhoods. Dallas has a backlog right now of more than 10,000 code service requests. The majority are in southern Dallas. It simply takes longer for the city and code enforcement to clean up trash, high weeds, and illegal dumping there. Representative, why can't the city respond in southern Dallas as fast as it's responding in northern Dallas?
Well, I'll tell you something. Whoever wrote that question, they asked a question that I've wanted to know myself, and I cannot wait, if I'm elected mayor, to sit down with our city manager and get to the bottom of that. There's an annual event that the city of Dallas knows is coming up every single year, the Martin Luther King Day Parade. It goes right through my district, and it starts right in South Dallas and goes down MLK. And every single year at the staging location where we start that parade, I see trash that has clearly been there, not for days, not for weeks, but for months or years. And it's unacceptable. It's absolutely unacceptable. And I believe that there is a disparate treatment in terms of how we enforce code and what we do in various parts of town. Fortunately, if I'm elected mayor, we will have a mayor who's very sensitive to this, because I'm from the southern part of our city, and I find it absolutely offensive that we don't do as good a job in certain neighborhoods as others. We will treat all of Dallas the same. If I'm mayor, it will be a priority of mine to make sure there is no difference in how citizens are treated with respect to having their alleys taken care of, trash cleaned up, and code enforcement based on where they live. That's very important to me.
Councilman, you live in southern Dallas. I cover southern Dallas. Why don't you think the access to services is the same?
This is what we talked about with our city manager, T.C. Broadnax. And then, as you know now, we've got a program in place. We analyzed where these code complaints are that aren't being timely answered. We determined they were in districts 4 and 7. And now we're going to roll out an enhanced code enforcement system. The big change we made bringing in our new city managers, we want to be driven by data and driven by metrics. So now, as you know, that we've got a dashboard showing how code complaints are being answered all the time, so we know this in real time. So now that we have the data, and having the data, we're implementing a solution. This is a big change the city of Dallas has made in the last couple of years, and it's been a great one.
So let's talk about that change. We're going to give 30 seconds to respond. The same day that the city rolled out a community clean program, we were covering trash dumped in southern Dallas, in South Dallas.
Yeah, again, this is a situation where you have to be accountable for the fact that you've been here for 8 years in a position to do something about these issues. Again, the Martin Luther King situation is a perennial event. We know when it's going to be every year. The city sponsors it, and it's an embarrassment. So you have to own that issue and all the other issues that you pointed out that have happened over the past 8 years, like these code compliance issues.
Why wouldn't you be accountable for that? Let's just continue that.
I am
just for a
accountable.
second.
What we said was we didn't have enough data, so with our new city manager, we said, we got to get data and track this stuff. We're hearing this just anecdotally, but let's get data and find out where it is, where these code complaints aren't being answered. So we put together a system, we put together a dashboard, and now we have the data. We're not ashamed of it, and now we came up with a plan to address it. That's how you move a city forward, is with data and a data-driven approach.
Councilman, let's drill down on some stuff we talked about a moment ago. You say you can find money in the budget for more police officers without having to raise taxes. So give me some ideas what specifically you'd cut out of this $1.3 billion city budget.
Just like we did last time, we found various FTEs, are called full-time equivalents, spots that had never been filled that hang out.
Positions at City Hall or within the city.
They've never been filled over many years, and they just sit there and we find out we don't need them, so we eliminate those positions to create more money to hire police officers and firefighters. Another way, we look at certain funds, from example, the pilot, payment in lieu of tax from the Dallas water utilities that we collect. How can we allocate that money best to meet the needs of the people of the city of Dallas? There is a lot of money in a $1.3 billion budget. You just have to know where to look.
It's a good point.
I just disagree that you're going to cut your way towards hiring enough police officers to make our city as safe as it needs to be. There's of course in any budget places where you can cut. You've used this example of this football game that got canceled due to weather that we spent all this money on and an incentive to bring them here. I don't disagree that things like that are silly, and we can look back on them in retrospect and say maybe we shouldn't have done that, but there's not enough of that on a consistent basis over the number of years we need to be able to hire these officers, because you can't just tool up and hire 1,000 new officers overnight and have them ready to go. That you have to find them, you have to put them through the academy, you have to train them. It takes a while.
It does take a while, but to be clear though, are there places in the budget though you think that can be cut?
Well, like I said, the example of a football game incentive is a great example to use in a debate, but we're not going to cut our way $300,000 at a time to get there. The way to do this, and I've been very clear about this, very adamant about this, we have to grow our tax base. We have to expand the pie and make sure that we are able to tax at a lower rate and ask less of each citizen and less of each business owner to generate the same or more revenue. That's the only way out of this.
We're going to talk about that. 30 seconds. He says you cannot cut your way to hiring more police officers, to raising the pay.
We just demonstrated this last budget in September of 2018 that we passed, is that we found more money in the budget. We raised pay from $48,000 to $60,000 starting pay, with a 3% across the board raise for our officers.
What does it say about the budget, though, if there's that much fat in the budget, Councilman?
It means that you need someone with experience and leadership to find the money. And then, in addition to do that, we will grow Southern Dallas and grow the tax base. So I offer an approach that's both. I will find the money in the budget to cut, to help eliminate waste and reallocate the funds, and I will grow the tax base.
Gentlemen, this question, another hot topic. Gentrification is becoming a big concern in West Dallas and across parts of Oak Cliff. New development pricing people out of their own neighborhoods. Tell the folks, how do you plan to protect these families in order to keep their homes?
Lots of agreement between, I assume that was for me first, lots of agreement between the two candidates, I think, on this issue. We've actually written about this together. We have a mutual interest in West Dallas. He used to represent it. I represent part of it currently. And I grew up there. It's my home. I still have family there. It means a lot to me, that neighborhood and every neighborhood that's facing this issue, because I think it's a matter of justice. I don't think it's right for an area to have to withstand all of the injustice of neglect, environmental injustice, things that have been hoisted upon West Dallas for all these years, and then now that it's a development play and it's an interesting place to be, it's close to downtown, we're going to let a bunch of development come in that potentially displaces people who've been there for that long. I think the way we protect folks is by looking at the tax code first and making sure that no one is priced out of their home because of skyrocketing property taxes. We have to freeze taxes. I also think we need to replenish more affordable housing stock as we lose it. So that means set-asides in some of these projects for affordable, or contributions to a housing trust fund in lieu of building affordable housing to build more other parts of West Dallas. But I don't want to see the residents who are there now have to leave because of their property taxes.
Let's get the councilman's take on this. Developers coming in, people feel like they're being forced out.
Yes, we have the tools in our comprehensive housing policy that I helped create. Number one, we need to use neighborhood empowerment zones in different areas like West Dallas and Oak Cliff near downtown, where we see the forces of gentrification coming in, to freeze taxes. Number two, we have a housing trust fund that can be used to help people fix up their houses so that they can stay in them. Number three, something we already did that we identified, was we raised the senior tax exemption from $60,000 to $90,000. And number four, what we can do is don't overzone an area. If we have a single family neighborhood, let's keep it zoned a single family neighborhood, and let's don't zone it into multifamily, because then that brings about developers to buy up the houses and to build a much denser product that prices people out. And let's use inclusive zoning. When developers do come in opportunity areas, areas of choice downtown and uptown, and they want zoning bonuses, let's require them to put in affordable housing.
Let's give the representative 30 seconds to respond to that.
Well, all I would say is, I think on this issue of gentrification, there's good reason for people in that community, West Dallas in particular I'm talking about, to be concerned. And I think Councilman Griggs and I have had some areas where we've seen things the same way. We are concerned over in West Dallas that we look at North Oak Cliff, part of your district now, and we say, is that the future of West Dallas? Because that is a gentrification situation in itself. People have forgotten, but there was once a community in a lot of those places where there were a lot more lower income individuals living there who have been displaced for a higher income individual. So we have to be on guard against this. And if I'm mayor, it'll be at the top of my priority list to make sure that that doesn't happen.
Councilman, next question is for you. Dallas streets. They are in terrible condition. And for years, one of the biggest problems has been Dallas oversight. The city does not enforce its own street cut permits, letting developers, utilities, contractors come in and cut up and repatch streets. The problem is the city never goes back to inspect that the work was done correctly. So tonight, what do you pledge to do about oversight, specifically about streets?
Yes, we need to have a comprehensive transportation policy, and a big part of it is how we take care of streets. Right now with street repairs, we just give out the bids to the lowest bidder. That's not working out for us well. We need to change the way we bid our streets, go to what's considered a best value value. Not only look at the price, but look at the reputation of the contractor. We know who the bad contractors are in the city.
But this is, respectfully,
Are you
Councilman,
talking about developers?
This is about Atmos, Dallas Water Utilities, developers building new houses in your neighborhood and other places like that, your neighborhoods and other places like that don't fix the streets like they
The same
originally
approach.
were.
We need to come back and monitor them closer. That goes in my next part. We need to tie these people to a calendar, well, it's Atmos or others. This approach works for everyone. And then we need to enforce the rules if they don't take care of the streets. We've already begun this initiative that I'm leading at the Dallas City Council already on changing our right-of-way regulations for how we are going to oversee these repairs.
Representative, the streets are, I think the video we just showed a moment ago is from Henderson Avenue right off 75. The streets are third world in some places in this city. What's your plan for fixing Dallas streets?
Well, I do agree that the way we contract in this space, it could use some improvement. I'll be the first to tell you that I believe there is a difference between the job of the mayor and the city manager. I think the mayor needs to be aware of these things. I think the mayor needs to make it very clear in his weekly meetings or more frequent meetings than that with the city manager that this is a priority. I want to see us improve our contract process. We don't need to reinvent the wheel here. We're not the first city in the country to have street issues, but I hear perennially people complain when they move here from other places that Dallas' streets are worse than the city where these folks came from. Let's look at national best practices and see what other people are doing. I want to sit down with the city manager that we pay $400,000 a year to run our city, who is the actual CEO of the city, to make sure that we do better. Sorry about that.
We're out of time there. Councilman, 30 seconds to rebut that.
I know the pothole experience we all do in the city. It's time to change it, and we need to change the way that we bid city contracts and that we oversee Atmos, DWU, and others. I'm ready to lead on this issue on day one, as I've already studied it, I've already talked to the city manager, and this is a policy decision that's so important for the mayor and council to take. The mayor and council are in charge of policy. We need to change our street policy.